वो हो रहा है, तो इसीलिए लाइक ऑडियंस को भी प्रॉब्लम हो रही थी. तो आई गेस अभी तो सब फाइन है, तो वी कैन स्टार्ट, राइट?
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So yeah, thank you everyone for joining in. Today's session is all about handling the real life problems of freelance content industry. And thank you Priyanka for joining us. Today's speaker is Priyanka. Hi Priyanka.
Hello, Harshita.
Yeah. So I am audible, right? I'm perfectly audible.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. So let's start with a brief introduction of yours, and then we can move towards the questions.
Sure. Yeah. So this is Priyanka. I'm a creative content writer, a personal branding expert, and a LinkedIn enthusiast. Above all, I am an ordinary woman chasing my extraordinary dreams. I'm here to share my experiences with you all, and I hope it helps you to handle the real problems that you're facing in the freelancing industry as a content writer. Thank you, Arshada, for having me here. It's a sheer pleasure to be a part of this webinar.
Thank you
Thank you
so
so
much.
much.
Yeah. Okay, so I guess we can
Yeah,
start with the questions. And
sure.
as we mentioned in the poster as well, the first aspect we will going to cover is about the assignments or the work samples that the client offer asks for from us, right? Like this is the first
Yeah,
thing that they would ask to rectify and to see our previous works. So starting about the
right.
word about this is the common question I have heard, that they the freelancers have this doubt that should they go for unpaid assignments or they go for paid assignments like the work samples as well. So should they charge for it or should they do it for free, and what the limit is if they can do it for free? Because I have seen clients asking for 2000 words blog for free,
Right.
right? So what's your take on this question?
Yeah, even as a fresher, I have experienced all this. I have enrolled in many websites and I have applied to many companies and clients to fetch the position of content writer. But there's a dilemma, there's a huge dilemma, and even I faced it regarding the assignments, free assignments. Even though you give samples, you share your link of your live content on different websites, but still there are clients and companies who want you to write at least a 500 word sample assignment for free. So I don't think it is really fair enough. I'll share my experience when I used to visit few websites to enroll myself as a freelance content writer. I would fill the whole procedure, like filling the educational details, personal, professional, and at the end, I would come to see that there is a huge, stringent format of sampling and all. They would ask you to write different types of content to check your hold as a writer. Say for example, they want you to write blogs,
And
articles,
specifically in their niche,
newsletters.
so that they can
Yeah,
judge better कि इस niche में this writer
exactly.
can write or not.
Yeah. Yeah, and Harshita, knowing that this on this assignment you will be hired or selected, you will surely want to give your 200% in writing those content, and everything that you do to deliver high quality, you need time and effort. So there's always a question in the mind of writers, and even I faced it, that is it really worth investing so much of your precious time in giving this free sample just not to hear back from these companies and clients? So at the end, after struggling a lot, giving in so many assignments and all, I decided to stop it, to stop writing assignments for free. No, I set a condition for myself that I won't give any more free assignments to the client. No matter I'm leaving that client, I'm not getting that project. But the main point is that when you set the condition, you may not have many clients in your hand, but the clients who are ready to give you payment for test assignments, you have to understand that they are the high quality clients and they will be your genuine clients. So when the clients are saying no to pay you for sample assignments, you have to understand that it's a big red flag, that they may not be a very genuine client or they do not understand the value of your work. Secondly, what you can do is, instead of giving samples, I believe every writer, when he writes a sample, he thinks that okay, if this doesn't click, it will act as a sample in my portfolio. So
Right.
instead of thinking that, even I did that mistake. So instead of thinking that, why not get onto such websites who allow you to post your content as a guest writer with your bio and with your name, giving you due credits. In this way, you can also get that visibility that you desire with your name. I did that. I went into different websites. I started my account on Medium. I went into different websites like Acoustic Post, Hacker Noon, Co-Founders Town, Insider Notion. There are so many other websites like these who give you an opportunity to post your content. So without any restriction of topic or whatever it is. So you can go on writing on the niche that you really like, and when you write on your niche, you will be really writing good. So writing content, creating samples for yourself and publishing on different such websites will give you more visibility rather than struggling to give these samples to the client and just not to hear back from this. So for me, it's a very straight and big no to free samples. Not even a 200 or 500 word sample. It's a straight no. Very certainly, you can tell your client that, sir, I'm not ready to give any free samples. You can see my samples, you can go through my portfolio. But if you want me to write a specific sample for you, you have to pay me for that. It may be half the price that you're quoting, but there should be certain amount that the company or client should be paying you for the free samples, for the samples, sorry. So there is a straight and big no to this free assignments and samples. So I believe every writer should start having this condition in their mind and implementing in their career. Yes, Ashita.
Yeah. I guess you answered it very well. And we have a question from Yathanshu that he asks, is it a type of test writing to get the assignment?
Yes, different companies, different clients have different criterias. But I believe you should not get into this kind of things until you are approaching a very high-end company where you want to be a full-time content writer. There is no specific test or something like that. You will be asked by the client to write different types of content depending upon the requirement. You may be asked to write a simple blog or an article, or they want you to write a social media post or a newsletter to check your hold on different types of content. So yes, there can be a test depending upon the client, but basically there is no such test. You have to just give these assignments for free. That you should not.
Okay, so I hope that
Yes.
question is clear. And you
Yeah.
have said it very well that, like, I was also thinking that if the sample isn't accepted, I would add it
Yeah.
in my portfolio. But
Right.
that is actually good for even 1 or 2%, like even if we are beginners. But then if we just keep on collecting those portfolio samples and write for them for free, so it won't be for any use, right? We can
Right. Right.
actually go for
How
guest
long will you do
blogging,
that?
right? How long will we do
Right.
that?
That is better. Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So moving towards the next
Yeah.
question, this is about once we get the project or once we are in the process of getting the project, the client
Yeah.
often asks for our pay, and mostly, like
Yeah.
as far as I have attended, they ask directly on the call that how much you would charge for this kind of work, right? So I
Right.
want you to tell us the procedure that how the payment section would go. Like, should we tell them immediately what will the pay for the services will, and if not,
Yeah.
then how should we handle that, and how to effectively charge for our services?
Okay. Okay. Pricing is a very confusing one, right? And the newbies often get into the glitch how to do, and they often quote either very low price or they quote very high. So in either cases, they are in loss. So they don't back the client. So generally in Indian industry, writing industry, we have four ways of pricing. The most prevalent one is paise per word, or that we say price per word. It may be paise per word or rupees per word. So this is one very prevalent way that writers charge for their services. The second one is project basis. The third one is per hour basis, and then the last one is monthly basis. So generally, the prevalent one, like I said, is paise per word basis. So the very good strategy to handle the pricing of your services is that you have to be very smart when you're dealing with a client. When you are over a conversation with a client over a call or through mail, do not upfrontly go and quote your price. First of
First of
all,
all,
dig
dig
out
out
the
the
information
information
from the
from the
client
client
about the
about the
projects,
projects.
the length of the project, the length of the blog, word limit of the blog, the area, the topic to be written on. Once you have accumulated the topics and the details, analyze the time and effort that it will require from your side to invest in delivering the high quality content. Sometimes the deadline is also important. If they want you on a very hectic deadline, stringent deadline, you can charge a bit more depending upon the delivery, depending upon the deadline. But you first of all getting the details of the project will help you analyze the time and effort that you have to invest in writing that content. Sometimes what happens when a writer charges on the basis of word, per word basis, I think it's a very faulty way of charging. Even I was charging per word, but then I realized that it is not including the effort that goes into research, editing, re-editing. That all comes complementary with writing. So it doesn't include all that. Sometimes the research is more and the length of the blog is very short, very brief. In that case, price per word doesn't fit into the remuneration process. So it is not a very good way. I'll ask the writers not to charge per word basis, rather the very apt one is project per basis, on the basis of project. Understand the project, the details of project, the requirements of the project. Take your time. Do not quote very quickly. And before quoting your charges, mention your USPs to the client, what best you can do to the client, what best services you can do to satisfy the client. So once your client is convinced that you are a very good and high quality content writer, after that, when you quote your price, he will be ready to pay. So do not upfrontly quote price. First of all, set the stage for yourself. Tell your USPs, what best you can cater to him, what services you can cater to him, how you can take his business above. So after setting a stage, then quote your price. The client will be more happily and readily, ready to pay the price. So it is very advisable to charge according to the project, not according to the words. Pay according to the words is a faulty process, is a faulty way. Secondly, there is always a room for you to convince the client that to work with you on a long term basis or on a monthly basis. I believe working with the clients on monthly basis is best. I try and work with monthly retainers only. The fluctuating clients, those who come to you for one or two projects, generally they are not very, suitable, I would say. So once you start working with the client, talk to him, ask the requirements. So when they have a website, they have a business, they need long term content for sure. So deliver high quality content, convince the client to work with you on long term basis. Get the scope of work on the monthly basis and convince them to work with you on monthly basis. So this will ensure that you are having a fixed income at the end of a month when you are having a monthly retainer in your hand. So I believe working with monthly retainers is the best way to work. And if not, the second one would be the project basis. These two are the best way to price your service and have a long term work in your hand.
Okay. So basically, in the monthly retainers, we can charge on per month basis, right? Like
Right, right.
for a month, if I have written 4 blogs, so
Yeah.
for those 4 blogs, I would be paid monthly, and
Yeah.
eventually it would go right.
Yeah,
Okay.
just learning the scope of work, what the work is for the whole month. The client will be telling you in advance the scope of the whole month, the scope of the work for the whole month, and you can analyze and see how much time and effort that you have to give in for the whole month for this particular client, and then accordingly you can quote your charges.
Okay, great. So like
Yeah.
breaking down, if we go for per project basis, so
Right.
suppose we have different things to handle uh,
Right.
in a project. If the client has asked us to handle the Instagram handle of their
Yeah.
page, like of their company,
Right.
so Instagram has
Right.
many things to do, right? Content
Right.
creation and basically social media marketing, hashtags, and
Yeah.
some related works as well. So how to
Right.
actually code the different prices for every service and then combine them as a project, like this is the main thing I was also like
Yeah.
hustling with ki I
Yeah.
often fail ki per project basis पे how should I charge effectively कि मतलब हमारी तरफ से भी अच्छा हो और उनको भी ऐसा ना लगे कि the person is asking for so much या फिर so less या ऐसे
Yeah.
करके कुछ. So
Okay,
yeah.
so if you break down to the client that social media post की handling के लिए इतना charges है, इसके लिए इतना charges है, the client will be really confused and he will find it really glitchy. But if you are handling a different type of content for a particular client, say for social media, say for newsletters, or say for articles and blogs for the website, so on and so forth, make it compile it together. If the client is ready to pay you for, depends upon the client actually, I would say. If the client is ready, if you find that the client is that understandable enough that he will understand, you can break down the charges. But I would always suggest you to compile it together and see your efforts and time you require, and then you charge the price, and then you charge, quote your price, instead of really breaking it down that blogs के लिए इतना, articles के लिए इतना, social media के लिए इतना. So when you are doing everything together for one client, make it a compilation of everything and charge accordingly, instead of breaking it down for this and that. So I believe you should charge as a whole. You have to see what efforts you are giving in, how much time you're requiring, how much time you're giving to one single client, how much time it is taking you. So accordingly, you charge, quote your charges. It's a very simple funda, rather than breaking it down that social medias के लिए इतने, blogs के लिए इतने. I believe compiling together everything and charging will be more beneficial.
Okay. So
Yeah.
मतलब हम we shouldn't break down and tell them कि for this service we are charging this, for this service we are charging this.
No, you can say them. If the client is really, if you think the client can understand the importance of, if a client is not a writer by himself, I think it will be difficult for him to understand the effort, or the diversity of efforts that requires for you to write a blog and to write a social media post. So he won't be able to understand that slight difference that comes in. For him, it is all content, it is all same, immaterial of the fact that it's a blog or a social media post. So
He
if
just
the
want the
client is,
content. He just want the
yeah, he just
content at
want
the
that.
time.
Right. Right. So if a client is a writer, he will understand the effort, he will understand the difference. So you can break down to him, okay, for social media I'll be charging this much, or for blogs my charges will be this much, or my website
Hello.
a website, or he's just a client, I don't believe he can understand the difference, and he will start questioning you, or he may not have that much faith in you कि क्यों सभी चीजों के लिए क्यों अलग अलग होता है. So it will be difficult on your part to make him understand the whole idea why the charges are separate actually. So you can compile it on your own, all the work that you do for that client.
Okay, great. So, yeah, that
Yeah.
was my question. We can move towards the next question, which was actually you talked about that it was about the monthly retainers. So,
Right.
my question was basically ki who are monthly retainers and how to find them, and what are basically the pros and cons of working with monthly retainers.
Okay. So monthly retainers are basically any client or company with whom you're working on a monthly basis. No, monthly retainers are no other special features, like they are normal clients. You can find them on different social platforms, like you can find it on LinkedIn, find them on LinkedIn. The best ever platform I can recommend is LinkedIn. That is one best platform for all the freelancers. the professionals here. So you can start with a client with a single project. A client approaches you. If you're a freelance content writer, a client will approach you for a single project. But when he likes your work and you get into the flow with him, you can approach him, ask him if he is in requirement of a long term work. So having a website, having a business, they will surely need long term content from you.
Right. Okay.
Not to writer to handle their work. They do not want to keep on finding every new writer for a new project. Even they find it very suitable. Trainers are basically these clients who have long term work, and you work with them on a monthly basis. You understand the scope of work content as required. So you can basically, I have found my all clients from LinkedIn, no matter either they were on the project basis or monthly retainers. From last 8 or 9 months, I believe I'm working only with monthly retainers, and I'm finding it really, really beneficial for me. If I say you the benefits of working with monthly retainers that you have for the whole month in your hand. So this gives you an idea that how much time is left with you and how many new projects or new client you can take up. According to the availability of time, after giving to that particular client, one or two client that you are having, you can take up new work. So it will give you a clear picture of how much work you have, how much spare time you have, how much more client you can work with, how many more projects you can bag, you can take. So it gives you a very clear picture. Second thing is that for a freelancer, uh, fluctuating income is the biggest problem. Some days you have so many clients in your hand, and some days you do not have a single one. So at the end of the month, what exactly you are getting on the table, you do not know. How much you are earning, you do not know. It's a very fluctuating income. So you do not have your finances, you do not have your budget set. So being having monthly retainers in your hand will give you a clear picture of your income as well. Okay, from this particular client, you will be getting this amount of money at the end of the month. So depending upon that, you can see your budget, you can plan your finances. That is very, very important for a stress free life. So again, having monthly retainers in your hand will give you a very clear picture of your income and your finances and your budget as well. Thirdly, when you're having monthly retainers in your hand, you know that you have to deliver this much of content. So according to your time, you can write any time, at the night, at the day, and you can submit him. You can prepare your content beforehand and then submit on the time. So that is again one great advantage. Lastly, I would say working with one client for a long time, you understand the requirement of the client very well. The client understands the quality of your work very well. So there is a great flow of work. So it gives you a great opportunity to brush up your skills and grow as a writer. So I believe having monthly retainers will give that stability to a freelancer that is generally missing in the life of a freelance content writer. So I always aim to get monthly retainers, and I
Hi Priyanka, I guess the audio is disconnected. Maybe some issue. speaker is joining again. I don't know what the problem is. Maybe now the issue would be solved. We will continue after this. Just a minute, okay?
Hello.
Yes, Priyanka, now you are audible. What was the issue that you were facing?
I didn't find any issue. I was just speaking.
Okay, so मतलब आपको पता ही नहीं चला कि audio was disconnected.
No, I could not actually.
Okay, I don't know what's the issue. Really sorry for the inconvenience. I guess we can move forward.
Yeah.
So, yeah, going towards the next question will be about the contract. That after the
Right.
payment is like finalized from both the ends, we can move towards actually starting with the project. But before the project, I guess a
Okay.
contract plays a main role in starting. So how would you explain the contract procedure to the audience? And in the contract, we can actually discuss about key why a contract is important and what things to include in a contract.
Okay. So basically, freelancing industry is more on trust and less on contracts to say. No matter we have contract, we have it written, we have things over mail, but still it is really impossible to reduce the risk or to evade the risk 100%. Yes, you can lessen the risk of the distrust and the of getting cheated by the client, and same for the client by the writers, but you cannot really uh, do away with the problems of this industry. Yes, it is very much advisable for writers to get a contract done by the client. In the contract, you can ask the client to mention every detail of the contract, every detail of the project, like the deadline of the project, the topics to be covered, the type of content to be delivered, the price that is fixed, the is it on a per word basis, on project basis, or whatever it is. Every single detail of the project that you have discussed with the client should be included in the contract in a written format and sent to the writer over the mail, over the professional mail that you have. So it is very much important to have everything in written with you. Having said that, just because you have everything in written, you are having a contract written from the client, it doesn't guarantee you anything, because I believe with that contract or anything like that, you can't move your client to court in case of any unethical practices or faulty practices. Hello.
Yeah, I can hear
uh,
you, I guess.
People are commenting that they can't hear anything.
Saloni, can you please check your network once because I can hear her properly now. And maybe we can check with other members as well.
Yeah.
I can hear. Okay, I guess people can hear. You can
Okay.
continue.
Okay.
Saloni,
Yeah.
please check your network.
So yeah. So with those contract, you really can't move your client to the court. The procedure, the time involved is so very complicated. You will invest, you will be exhausted, and you will be exhausted too, and you will not get anything out of it. So I always ask the writers to take few steps, few things in mind, to take these steps, and while working with any of the client, make sure that you have everything written, everything on contract, and everything in your mail. Secondly, take advance from the client. Whatever the amount is, take some advance. It may be 50% or 70% when you start the work with the client. You make sure that you are taking advance at least, and then there is a condition from your side that okay, at the end of the when you deliver the final content, the rest 30, 40, 50% will be paid to you. So taking advance will always lessen the risk of you getting cheated. So you get some amount, you don't get completely cheated in case the client disappears in middle of something or like that. So to make sure that you take advance as well. Thirdly, whenever a client approaches you, make sure that you find out things about the client from different social medias, where he is active, what are the testimonials of this client or companies you are going to work with. This will give you a picture of how social the company or the client is, how he has maintained his public profile, how ethical the client is. So at the end of the day, it all depends upon the ethical or unethical practices of the client. So if the client is very fair to his business practices, he will be fair to you as well. And if the client or company is really not having that rapport, he's in the mindset of cheating and unethical practices, you cannot really do anything. You just can lessen the risk that is involved in the process, but you cannot evade it 100%. Every business involves risk, and freelancing industry is just a double edged sword, where you have lots of opportunities, greater risk. So you have to keep in mind that there can be any kind of fault that come in between. So every time you have to be cautious and take advance for sure. Check out the client and company, check out their profiles, check out their social media profiles for sure, check out their website before getting into contract with them. And just for safety, have a contract. But even if you have a contract, do not make this mistake of overloading your work, giving him lots and lots of work. Make sure that you have timely payment. If the client is ready, ask him to pay you in every 15 days or every week, so that you don't heap your money and your work to the client. So it is very essential to be smart and just not to do hard work as a freelancer.
Right. And as Vishal sir also said, I think working through references is helpful to avoid bad clients. So I guess
Absolutely.
references work much. And
Really well. Yeah.
Shitanshu asks, how much percent of advance do you take?
Okay, that's a tricky one. Depends upon the project and depends upon the client as well. So basically, I go with 50 or 60% of advance when there is a contract signed
At
between me
least
and the client.
50% is necessary, right?
Necessary. It just lessens the risk in case the client disappears in between. You always at least have something to save.
Right. Okay.
Right. Yeah.
So yeah, this is also one person had a question that should we make a new contract for every client that we work, or should we like keep a template for us and then keep on changing it according to the client's requirement?
I think there should be a different contract for a different client because the requirements, the details, everything is very different. The form of working may be different. So, a different contract for each and every client should be there, and it should be maintained very properly and neatly that you do not get confused. So, a different contract for different client for sure.
Okay. So yeah, maybe like this is the last question for the for today, and it is about the like job and freelancing, managing both, like as you had done both of these fields.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
just a question from you that how to choose between a job and a freelancing business, and basically how to cope up with like come up with key uh, now we can leave our job and go that full time freelancing, how to get that confidence and everything. These are two questions for the same.
Okay. So, being a moonlighter is not easy. Juggling between your full time responsibility and a freelancing, that is your side hustle, is not easy. But I would say precisely here that it is absolutely possible to be a successful moonlighter. If you are now stuck into a full time job and you are doing your side hustle, and you want to someday quit your full time job and become a full time freelancer, take your time. Do not rush in. I would say I'll always advise, do not rush in. Take your time. See, be very calculative. because your full-time job is giving you the security of money, bringing you on the table at the end of a month your fixed income, that is giving you so much of relief that okay, you have this much of income in your hand. And when you start your side hustle, the income may not be that good that you can rely or you can have a living out of it. You keep on doing both. You do your full-time job, keep your side hustle intact, get clients, fetch clients, do smart work, have some writers in your pool whom you can outsource work when you have so much of work in your hand. See, being a full-time job holder, your much of your time is eaten up by that job. So you are having so much of less time in your hand to actually give into your side hustle. Additionally, you have your personal life where you have your own family and etc. So have some writers in your hand, some good quality writers whom you can outsource your work and take up more work like that. In this case, you can take so much of work, you can earn more as in your side hustle. So that can be a smart move from your side. And when you are thinking to quit the job, you only quit your job only when you think that your side hustle is giving you that much of income as equal to your full-time job, or if you predict, if you see your growth in a such a way that in near future you can earn more than your full-time job. Only then take that leap of faith and go ahead and quit your job and become a full-time freelancer. I gave a lot of time before quitting my job and coming into writers in my hand whom I used to outsource the work. I used to do certain limited work myself and outsource my work to other writers, my trustworthy writers, so that because uh, you are at, your reputation is at stake, so you have to choose writers very wisely whom you're outsourcing your work. So some smart work, some calculations, and lot of hard work will give you a result, and you can take that giant leap of faith and quit that boring 9 to 5 wala job and come into this exciting freelancing industry.
Okay, great. That was a good answer. And we have questions from audience now. That Vishal asked, does email with terms work as a contract?
No, no. You can have every conversation, whatever is relating to the work, over the mail, but a very legit contract should come from the client. The conversation you have over an email is not a contract. So you ask your client to give a very legit contract from the company's name, signed properly, everything intact, all the details intact, with all terms and conditions sent to you over your mail. But whatever conversation relating to work you have over email is not a contract. Be very specific in this when you're working with anybody, especially when you're working with overseas client. Make sure that you have everything in a legit contract.
So hope it answers the question. Uh, Previously, Ritika asked a question that where can newbies find clients like this? Like FB groups, clients start the conversation only with asking pesa per word. So previously you
Yeah.
talked about the per project, right? So it is related to that.
Yeah, the industry is such because writers charge according to price per word. The client even come up front and ask you price per word, so it is not their fault. Sometimes the clients are not writers by themselves, so they do not know what exactly this thing is. So what you can do is you can have a instead of saying that my price is this much or I charge on project basis or on monthly basis, instead of saying them upfront, have a call with them, have a chat with them, have a call with them if possible. Get in contact with them, talk to them, and certainly you can tell them that okay, I do not charge per word, I charge per project. You can convince the client. Many a times the client are not aware of the nuances of the industry. They do not know, they are general businessmen or who are running a website or who need content, so they may not be aware of all those things of the industry. So you very certainly tell them that okay, price per word is not something that I charge on the basis of this. You can say I charge on basis of project. First of all, you understand the work, understand the details of the project, the requirements of the project, and then go ahead and say them that okay, I do not charge per word, I go with project basis and I'll charge this much, or give me some time to analyze and then I'll come back to you. So take your time and see everything and then quote your charge according to the quality you are delivering. First and basic thing is that if your content is not that high quality and you are just quoting very high price, you will lose the client. And sometimes the client may not understand the quality of the content or something like that, but you have to convince that the price that you are charging and the value that you are delivering is at par, and the quality and the price is always having a direct relationship. So when you are charging high, make sure your content quality is also very high. Second part is that you can find this client on every different social medias. Say it for Instagram, say it for LinkedIn, say it Facebook. I started with Quicker. And to be very frank, Quicker you may not get very high paying client, but yes, you can start with Quicker to get clients. After that, the second platform I started was with LinkedIn, and LinkedIn has been a blessing to me. I did not even have to search client on LinkedIn. I got all inbound leads from LinkedIn. So LinkedIn is a very powerful platform. You leverage the power of LinkedIn, and I believe LinkedIn will give you very good clients if your quality is up to the mark.
Okay, so hope it answers the question, and that was all the questions we had. Thank you so
Yeah,
much, Priyanka, for sparing your time and answering all the questions so good.
yeah,
And I just want to thank you for the same, and thank you, the audience, for staying till the last. And I guess we can end the session now.
yeah,
Thank you so
yeah.
much,
Thank you
and
so
have a
much.
good night.
Thank you so much. Thank you to the lovely audience as well for bearing me so long.
Yeah, I don't know what the issue was, but it's okay. We will try to fix it off.
Sure, sure.
Thank you so
Okay.
much. Good night.
Thank you so much. Good night.